Hello, Genius. Welcome back to the Own Your Genius podcast, the space where we encourage you to use your education and your experiences to create dope businesses. I'm your host, brand attorney LaConya Murray, owner of Off the Mark IP Solution and founder of Mark Legal. Today's podcast is just a short reminder that you don't have to register your trademark. If you choose to ignore the legal part of your business, that is literally your business until it's not. Welcome back to the Own Your Genius podcast, where we talk about building smart businesses, creating standout brands, and turning your intellectual property into income. I'm your host, attorney LaConya Murray, founder of Off the Mark IP Solutions. We're a boutique firm that helps professionals and experts use legal clarity and brand strategy to protect what they've built and grow what they've created. We got a good one for you today, so let's get started. So today's podcast is really, what can I say? Basically, I received a phone call last week, and I get these calls kind of often, right? The person is on the other line and they're saying, hey, we've done all the things in our business that we need to do. We formed the business, we have the LLC, we started branding, we've spent, thousands of dollars on marketing and branding things, and now we want to do this trademark. But, I went and looked, and there's this name. In this particular case, the name was very similar, except for one letter, doing the exact same thing in the exact same industry. And the crazy part about it is that the name they called me about as a conflict wasn't the only conflict when I went and just did like a very quick search. And I always tell people, you do not have to register your trademark. That's literally your business. It's your prerogative. But when you choose not to protect your brand, that's fine. But don't be upset or don't take it personally when someone else chooses to protect their brand. And what I mean by that is they might send a cease and desist letter, right? And you weren't even thinking about it because you're just like, oh, I'm starting this business. I have this brand. I'm doing this marketing. I'm putting everything out into the world. You're just in the zone. And here comes this letter, you think out of nowhere, but they're literally enforcing the rights they have through their registered trademark. Even if you choose, for whatever reason, not to register your trademark, I always tell people you have to do at least a trademark clearance search. You have to know if that name is available, because just because it's available in your state database, just because you were able to get the LLC, does not mean that it's available for you to use as a brand identifier. Remember, brand identifiers and business names are two different things. Your brand identifier is so that the market knows how to connect with you. They know who is the source of that good or that service. The business name is so that the state knows who's running a business in the state, who to collect taxes from. Right? Two different things, even though the business name and the brand name can be the same. And it's because of that people run into trouble all the time, is because they say, well, I have the LLC, so they don't have any standing and I can just ignore the cease and desist letter. But you can't. You cannot. Your business name just means that you can have that business name in the state. If you're using that name in the state, it can also mean that you might have a common law interest in that trademark in that state. And that's only if the person with the registered trademark didn't register their trademark before you started your business, right? Because remember, trademark priority is first to use unless someone files something like an intent to use trademark, which then that intent to use trademark takes priority. And that federal trademark registration gives people the authority to prevent people throughout the United States from using their same or similar mark in a same or related field. I'll come down off my little high horse soapbox or whatever and just remind you that it's your prerogative. It's your prerogative. You can start this business and take the legal part lightly and then let it bite you in the butt, or you can face it head on. Because if you're listening to this podcast, 9 times out of 10, you know what a trademark is. You also know how to do things like use written contracts, because it's not only with trademark registration that I see people waiting until they get into trouble to be like, oh my gosh, so yeah, you have the federal registration for your trademark, but you also have written contracts that you're not using in your business. And then when a client stops paying, or if a client decides to do a chargeback, you have no recourse. Or if you have a client who's like keeps changing the scope of the work, and all you have is this verbal agreement or maybe a couple emails between you two, and you're like, this is such a headache, I just want to quit. You don't have to quit. You just have to get your legal house in order, right? That's it for today's podcast. I told you it will be quick. The top takeaways from today's podcast is, even if you don't protect your brand, somebody else out there probably is protecting theirs, and there can be a conflict between what you're doing and they're doing. And all that can be resolved with a simple trademark clearance search. Even if you don't have the funds to proceed with registration, at least know what you're getting into. So let's take this conversation over to ownyourgenius.co. I want you to share this episode with 3 people and have them join you there. But before you go, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and rate the podcast. Until next week, keep building your business, growing your brand, and owning your genius.